Hotep, everybody. It is Sunday, February 11th, 2024, and this is our Super Bowl edition of the African History Network show. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It's Sunday, February 11th, 2024, and the Kansas City Chiefs just beat the San Francisco 49ers 25-22 in overtime. So some of you all watched that game. As you all know, I haven't watched the NFL game since Colin Kapernick left the league, but we're going to talk about some things involving the Super Bowl on today's show. Many of you all saw Usher perform, and we know Alicia Keys came out and performed with Usher. Also, her performed with Usher as well, and Jermaine Dupri. So there was a surprising performances. CNN.com has this article. Yeah, Usher slayed that halftime show. So there was something for everybody, okay, in today's game. And the game went into overtime, and the Kansas City Chiefs prevailed in Super Bowl LVIII. Now, singer Andra Day, performed the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, at the beginning of the game. And you know that for Super Bowl LVII, Sheryl Lee Ralph, who stars on Abbott Elementary, performed the Black National Anthem as well. In 2023, that was the first time the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, had been performed actually at the game. In previous years, it was performed outside of the arena or pre-recorded. So Andra Day performed. I saw a clip of it on Instagram. Many people said she did a good job. Check out this article from people.com. Andra Day performs moving rendition of the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, ahead of Super Bowl. So on today's show, we're going to deal with some history of the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, written by James Weldon Johnson, who's a member of my fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. And we're going to give you some background history on that. I'm going to share a excerpt of my appearance from February 2023, right after Super Bowl LVII, when I appeared on Farajii Muhammad's show, The Culture. That was on February 13th, 2023. We dealt with the Black National Anthem being performed at the Super Bowl. We also dealt with ESPN's Chris Berman, sports analyst Chris Berman's comments about Abraham Lincoln. You remember in Super Bowl LVII, you had the matchup between Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts of the Philadelphia Eagles, both two African-American quarterbacks. Well, Chris Berman said that February 12th, which was the day that the Super Bowl fell on in 2023, he said February 12th was Abraham Lincoln's birthday, which it was, as opposed to focusing on this historic matchup between two African-American quarterbacks in the Super Bowl. So I'm going to share that excerpt from Farajii Muhammad's show, The Culture, where we discussed that. Also, we talked about the Black National Anthem. I talked about Jay-Z striking the deal with the NFL to produce the Super Bowl halftime shows and backdooring Colin Kaepernick, pushing Colin Kaepernick out the way. And remember, just a few years ago, Jay-Z put the word out to all the top entertainment acts, especially African-American entertainment acts, not to perform at the Super Bowl in support of Colin Kaepernick's protest. You see me wearing my Colin Kaepernick shirt here as well, okay? Okay, I'm wearing my Colin Kaepernick shirt also. Kaepernick taking the knee for social justice and the fight against police brutality and racism. And then in 2023, Rihanna performed at the Super Bowl. Now you have Usher performing at the Super Bowl as well. Okay, so we'll talk about that. And there's a good article from January 21st, 2024. Now, when it was announced that Andra Day was going to perform the national anthem, the Black National Anthem, I should say, the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, there was outrage as NFL announces Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing will be performed at Super Bowl for 4th year in a row. So in 2023, we saw this backlash from a lot of conservatives, and they said that the NFL is trying to divide the country. You had comments saying there's only one national anthem, things of this nature. Now, the NAACP named Lift Every Voice and Sing as the Black National Anthem in 1919, which was about 12 years before the Star Spangled Banner became the national anthem. It was passed in Congress and signed into law by Hoover. Lift Every Voice and Sing, often called the Black National Anthem, will be sung at Super Bowl 58. The NFL announced it will be performed by Grammy-winning R&B singer Andra Day and will be played alongside the Star Spangled Banner. So you had named the Negro National Anthem by the NAACP in 1919. The song references slavery and the hope for liberation. It was later adopted as a rallying cry during the Civil Rights Movement, according to the NAACP. The song was first played before NFL games in 2021 and has also been played at the last 2 Super Bowls. So you had Charlie Kirk, right-wing conservative Charlie Kirk, with Turning Point USA. He posted on Twitter, which is now X, the NFL has announced that the so-called Black National Anthem will be performed at the Super Bowl. Maybe Candace Owens should tell him it is the Black National Anthem. Of course, in reality, the Black National Anthem is performed at every Super Bowl because the Star Spangled Banner is the anthem of all Americans. Well, we realized we needed a Black National Anthem because the white one was written by what I call the white national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner, was written by a white supremacist slave owner named Francis Scott Key, who thought that African Americans were mentally inferior, and he used his position as U.S. District Attorney to Washington, D.C. to work against abolitionists and target abolitionists. Okay, one abolitionist he tried to have executed by hanging. So we're going to get into some of the history of not just the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, but also the white national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner. Okay, we'll do all that on today's installment of the African History Network show. Now, Charlie Kirk went on to say, of course, in reality, the Black National Anthem is performed at every Super Bowl because the Star Spangled Banner is the anthem of all Americans. The effort to create a Black anthem and a Black Independence Day, Juneteenth, is part of a wider project to divide Americans up race. Well, it is interesting that he says this because when you study the history of the Black National Anthem, it dealt with a hope for a better tomorrow. It dealt with understanding where African Americans came from, and is written about 35 years after slavery ends, and is written between 1899 and 1900, and we're going into a new century, and it's a hope for a better tomorrow. Okay, and are continuing to fight for justice, equal rights, etc. And there was a piece from CNN also that dealt with some of the history of Lift Every Voice and Sing. And if we look at this quickly, and then I'm going to go to the segment from when I was on Farajii Muhammad show, The Culture. If we look at this here, what makes Lift Every Voice and Sing so iconic? This is from September 10th, 2020. September 10th, 2020. We look at this piece from CNN.com. And in it, it gives some background history. And here's a picture of James Weldon Johnson, who also organized the Silent March of 1917 for the NAACP. And you had 10,000 African Americans marching down Fifth Avenue in Manhattan, and they were fighting for a federal anti-lynching law, a federal anti-lynching bill. Okay, 1917. Charlie Kirk doesn't want to discuss that. Well, when we look at this history here, it was adopted in 1919 as the Black National Anthem. Okay, In 1900, when Lift Every Voice and Sing was composed, Black Americans were teetering on a fulcrum of history. The visibility and influence of African American traditions was growing, but Reconstruction efforts had failed to provide widespread opportunities for financial and educational advancement, because we know Reconstruction collapsed in 1877 with the Compromise of 1877. Moreover, racism stood ready to close any door Black achievers dared to open, generally speaking. Okay, now, among Black leaders of the day, education, artistic excellence, and the power of Black communities of faith were both forces of strength and precious keys to progress. To many men and women, like the Johnson brothers, okay, James Weller Johnson and his brother Rosamond Johnson. Rosamond was a classically trained musician, and he put the melody to the poem, to the lyrics of Lift Every Voice and Sing. To many men and women like the Johnson brothers who managed to find success, the rise of one Black American helped lift up all. Okay. In 1919, the NAACP proclaimed the Negro National Anthem a full 12 years before the Star Spangled Banner was adopted as the national President Herbert Hoover. It is an omnipresent part of African American worship traditions and an enduring refrain for great Black artists. Okay, so read the rest of this piece here, and they show a picture of his brother also, John Rosamond Johnson, who was a composer. They show a picture of him as well here. Okay, this piece from CNN is called "What Makes Lift Every Voice and Sing So Iconic." Now, the Super Bowl, when we look at the National Retail Federation, it's expected that Super Bowl 58, and you know they use Roman numerals for the Super Bowl, it's expected that Super Bowl 58 was going to be watched by 200 million people, okay? In their Super Bowl 58 survey, the latest consumer spending data from the National Retail Federation and Proper Insights Analytics 2024 Super Bowl survey found that a record 200.5 million U.S. adults plan to tune in to the big game. This year, 112 million people plan to throw or attend a Super Bowl party, and another 16.2 million plan to watch the game at a bar or a restaurant. Total spending on food and drinks, apparel, decorations, and other purchases for the day for the Super Bowl is expected to reach a record $17.3 billion or $86.04 per person. So the Super Bowl is huge, huge business. We know that a 30-second Super Bowl commercial was going for $7 million also, $7 million. All right. Also, be sure to visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can register for my new 10-week online history course that I teach on Saturdays, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Ancient Kemet, one of the original names for Egypt, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Register right here. We also have my 10-week lesson plan here for all the classes laid out, so you can see the type of content that we'll cover in the class. We had a great class number 1 on February 10th. Class number 2 is Saturday, February 17th, 2 Standard Time. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch it anytime. Okay. So it took a lot to put this class together and continue to do this. We appreciate your support. And there's a bonus that we did an intro on February 3rd to the class, and then February 10th we had class number 1. Okay, and our lesson plan is right here, so you can view this is about 90% of the content that we're going to cover. There are going to be some other things that I don't have listed here, but you can check that out, and you can download the lesson plan as well. Okay, all right. So let's get into this. And here is my on Farajii Muhammad show, The Culture, from February 13th, 2023, Monday, February 13th, 2023, where we talked about Super Bowl 57 from February 12th, 2023.
And very quickly, then we take our next pause. Brother Michael and Hotep, Brother Michael, you talk about this, if we look at the racism piece, the level of colorism piece, I just found it to be interesting because I was looking on social media and it, I wanted to see, I like Kansas City. You know what I mean? I like Kansas City a lot. I think Patrick Mahomes he embodies the next generation of black quarterbacks in the league. But people were making it seem like we shouldn't be proud of both brothers. These are two young black men at the top of their game. And folks like, well, I'm going with the black man from Philly because he's from Philly. He represents a black. Like, when did we get out of that? Brother Michael, what's your take?
Well, yes, we still suffer from colorism. How's everybody doing? Thanks for having me back, Farajii. Yes, we still suffer from colorism. Yes, we still suffer from ignorance. And if we're saying that Patrick Mahomes is not black because he's biracial, we have to say Colin Kaepernick is not black. He's biracial as well. We have to say Frederick Douglass was not black because he was biracial. We have to say somebody like Bob Marley. Bob Marley was biracial also. So it's like, you have to look. I think some people are making comments and don't follow football. And I don't follow football. I haven't watched the NFL game since Colin Kaepernick left the league in 2017. I didn't watch the Super Bowl, didn't watch the halftime show. I already told people I wasn't watching. I told Roland Martin this Friday. But when you have something like the Super Bowl, and it was viewed probably by about 192 million people, that was the estimation from National Retail Federation. It was about 192 million people who were going to watch the game. It draws in people who normally would not pay attention to Patrick Mahomes, didn't know who he was before the game yesterday or anything like that. So, people bring to these conversations a lot of times their own hangups, et cetera. But I'm more concerned about the attack by people on the right wing, like Lauren Boebert, attacking the Black National Anthem being performed, saying there was one national anthem. But a lot of people don't know Francis Scott Key, who wrote the white national anthem, what I call the Star Spangled Banner. He was a white supremacist slave owner who thought that African people were mentally inferior and used his position as district attorney in Washington, D.C. to attack abolitionists. So it's like our priorities are not in order when we say things like that.
I think, and we got to take a quick pause, and folks, I want y'all to chime in as we're talking to my brother Scotty, my brother Michael, and Hotep. But I think that it just goes to show you, Scotty, that as much as we like to think that we are, knowledgeable, as much as we like to think that we have an understanding of some very, very deep issues, we really don't. We really don't. Like we are still very immature, and I'm not saying that to insult. I'm saying we're still on the baby level of understanding the complexities of race. We're still kind of working from a space of just emotion versus looking at facts and reasoning. What's your take very quickly?
I mean, I love what Brother Mark said, about the different people who are biracial and things like that. But like, when I say you're playing the fence, it's like, some people want you. I hated to see Colin Kaepernick, lose what he stood for something and lost it. Right. But you could be like, for black people who are like, like darker people, like, I respect that because he identifies with, we feel like he identifies with the black side. Like,
yes, exactly. He does.
You know what I'm saying? Because he could have been cool with just saying, you know what, I feel this way, but I won't stand on it. But he could move like that, even if he didn't, you know what I'm saying? So, but I get it. I get it, man. It's very deep though. Like you said, Farajii, it's so deep, and we're at the tipping point because, for us as black people, I mean, just in general, color, whatever, we want things to look a certain way, and we want it to come out a certain way, and we want it to be done a certain way. And sometimes it doesn't always look the way we want to, and we kind of push back on it.
Absolutely. Folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, we're going to continue the conversation with Scotty and Brother Michael and Hotep. And, of course, with you, make sure you post your comments in the chat. Streaming live on YouTube, blackstarnetwork.com, Facebook, as well as We are definitely streaming live on Amazon News. Stay with us. More conversation about the Super Bowl up next here on The Culture on the Black Star Network. Folks, welcome back to the show. We have been talking to another big from Off Script TV. Make sure y'all check him out on Facebook and YouTube and all social media platforms as he continues to give us the latest in the sports world. And I got my brother Michael Imhotep, who serves as the host of the African History Network podcast show. You can check him out on AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We got Brother Michael. I see you. Okay.
I'm here.
Right, cool.
I gotta run.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, okay. Oh, you on the phone? Okay, I thought you were trying to get.
All right, man. But go ahead. What was your question?
Like Jerry.
No, okay. All right. So I see Scotty like trying to.
I'm sorry.
But check it. Look, so I wanted to talk about this because there is this continuation of colorism that we're seeing, and more importantly, you know, how to have a conversation about race in this country. And it seems to me, Brother Michael, that now race has become so, the talk around race has become much more frequent in this country around everything than I've probably seen in the past 10 to 15 years, that everything is through the lens of race. And I know last week I was having a conversation with some of my culture crew, and as much as Black folks would like to be seen, and I said this, and I'm just got to say this again, as much as we would like to be seen for our merits, our talents, our skills, our authentic selves being brought to the room or to the table, we're always going to be looked at through the lens of race because of the very essence and nature of this system that we are a part of, right? And even though we may not want that to be the case, when we look at the statements about Idris Elba, the actor who said, hey, I don't refer to myself as a Black actor anymore because I don't want to be typecast. Like, that's all well and good for us to be at a place of evolution on an individual level, but that doesn't reflect the institutional view of how people see us. When you're talking about the NFL, what's the institutional view of Black football players? When you're talking about Hollywood, what's the institutional view? And it just seems like there still needs to be some push on changing the institutional view. It's all right that if you are an evolved individual, that you don't see race. Oh, I don't refer to myself as this. Oh, no, but the institutions and the systems that we are part of still see you that way.
Yeah, so it's important to make a distinction between race and racism. Race is the stratification of humanity based upon hair texture, places of origin, skin complexion, phenotype, etc. That's race. Racism is a system of advantage and privilege distributed based upon race, which comes out of the ideology of European white supremacy, which is designed to preserve genetic white survival. Racism occurs when one race of people control the majority of the wealth, power, resources, benefits, privileges, land, access to education, access to opportunity, media, jobs, healthcare, etc. And they use that to marginalize, subordinate, and do harm to another race of people. So race is one thing. Race is just classification. Racism is a power structure designed to preserve genetic white survival and maldistribute wealth, power, and resources into the hands of Europeans. So with Idris Elba, I can understand him saying he's not confused. He knows he's a Black man. Right. But when we talk about actors, he wants to be looked at as an actor as opposed to his race first. I can understand.
I get that.
Yeah, I can understand that.
People do that in the sports world, right? We can say we can say that some of our athletes want to be seen as great athletes and not great Black athletes.
Right. Now, when we talk about the NFL, it's really important for us to understand this, right? Because there are 32 teams in the NFL, no Black majority ownership. The league is 68% to 70% African-American. You have 2 or 3 African-American head coaches. Okay. So what you're dealing with is racism coming from a power structure in the NFL, and you have the microcosm reflecting the macrocosm. And you have the average career in the NFL is 3.5 to 3.6 years. And then there was just a study from Boston University that showed out of 376 deceased brains analyzed, 91.7% had chronic traumatic encephalopathy. Okay. So you have to, so what we're looking at is racism within the NFL. And at the same time, Colin Kaepernick is still banned from the NFL, who wanted to bring attention to racism in the macrocosm. Okay.
All right, let me get my guy. And I appreciate you for pointing that out. And I'm glad that you pointed that out. Scotty, what's your take on that, bro?
I don't, maybe it's just me, but you being considered, if we go back and forth with it, right? If you being considered a black actor is typecasting yourself, that doesn't make any sense to me, because it doesn't, just because you consider yourself a black actor doesn't mean you're not great. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because you consider you're a black actor doesn't mean you can't play multiple roles, right?
Yeah.
But you gotta represent what you are. Like at the end of the day, just to be considered, you don't have the luxury just to be considered an actor. We understand what the dichotomy is, because as you said, the social structure does not just see you as an actor. Now, your greatness can outshadow your color to be like, we can put him anywhere, but at the end of the day, you're still a brother in a film. You know what I'm saying? That just is what it is. And I love what Brother Michael said about, you know what I'm saying, at the power structure of the NFL is dictating everything else below it. It's literally a plantation. Like, they own it. They run it however they want it. And then they know that anytime one of the workers rise up, well, we'll just cut him out and we'll fill him in with somebody else, because we know that other brothers look at this as so much as an opportunity that they're willing to be quiet to get the check, no matter how long that is. If it's 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, they will play the role in the back, get the money, and then once they get the money after 7 or 8 years, then they'll become an advocate about change. But then you weren't the advocate when you was playing. Now you set up for life. You done took everything that they done given you, and now you want to be an advocate? That, you know what I'm saying? And now you telling other
bro. Hey, Scotty.
Come on, man.
Come on. Hey, look. Hey, Scotty, let me tell you, that is one of the most, that point right there, brother, is one of the things I often push back on. You can't just be like, all right, I'm going to be conscious and I'm going to ride it out for 7, 8 years, like you said, and then be conscious afterwards. It's like you're doing yourself a disservice, right? Like, I get it, right. Man. I know everybody got to eat, right? Everybody got to eat. But let's keep it real. Like, what NFL players are being paid, that's 3-4 lifetimes. $200 million. I mean, come on, man. Like, you know, we acting like we talking about $100,000 here. We talking about 50 grand, like everybody got to eat. $200 million, $125 million, $130 million. Like, how much are you eating, bro? like, let's put this in proper perspective. So I feel that. Look, I want to bring our attention to another element of this colorism race conversation, because during yesterday's game, Chris Berman of ESPN, who is known to have said and have done some racist things, right? Back in 2016, Jamel Hill described having an interaction or message from him where he said some very, racist and very disparaging remarks as a woman about her when she was departing from ESPN at that time. So Chris Berman came out. He was talking about the fact that you got these two black quarterbacks in the Super Bowl, and I just want to play the rest of what he had to say. Take a listen, folks.
But also, of course, two African-American quarterbacks starting against each other in the Super Bowl for the first time. Fittingly, February 12th is Abe Lincoln's birthday. Here we go with the highlights in case you missed.
You can't make this stuff up, bro. You can't make this stuff up, man.
The man said, fittingly, February 12th is Abe Lincoln's birthday. Like,
right.
Hey, thank him for these two black quarterbacks for playing in the NFL. Because if it wasn't for Abe Lincoln, And you know what he did for them black people?
You can't make this stuff up, bro.
Who the hell?
Right.
This first, Scott. Mike, I know you want to unload, brother.
No, please give it to Brother Mike. I know he's about to stop. I will happily sit back and listen.
Yeah, it seemed like this was a slight, and he's doing this in Black History Month also. Okay,
come on.
So he's saying this during Black History Month. Now, just so people understand, the reason why Black History Month was originally the second week of February as Negro History Week was partly because the second week in February contained Abraham Lincoln's birthday. Dr. Carter G. Woodson created this because African Americans were already having celebrations in our communities celebrating Abraham Lincoln's birthday, and then Frederick Douglass' assumed birthday is February 14th. So it's because of those two birthdays and celebrations were already taking place in our communities. This is why Dr. Carter G. Woodson inserted the new cultural holiday within the second week of February. So it appears what he's trying to say is, well, if it hadn't been for Lincoln, who, freed the slaves, we wouldn't have these two black quarterbacks. But that's a misunderstanding of the Civil War. African Americans took up arms and we freed ourselves. Okay. We fought there's almost 200,000 of us that fought in the Union Army and the Navy. And they let African Americans fight on behalf of the Union when their backs were against the wall and they were being beaten by the South or by the Confederacy. And even with the Emancipation Proclamation, even though it did not free the enslaved Africans because the Union had no authority to dictate to the Confederacy what they could do, it was a military strategy designed to bring the South back into the Union and rob the South of their largest asset, which were the enslaved Africans. They had about 3 million of them or so in the Confederate States of America, the CSA, the Confederacy. And the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation was September 22nd, 1862, the year before. And it stated that if those areas in rebellion, those territories in rebellion did not come back into the Union by January 1st, 1863, they will be allowed to keep their slaves. Now, it exempted Maryland, Missouri, Kentucky, and Delaware, the border states. They were allowed to keep their slaves, and Maryland did not abolish slavery until November 1st, 1864. So almost 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. So a lot of this is mythology surrounding Lincoln, okay? Lincoln was not an abolitionist.
Here's the thing, Brother Michael.
Yeah.
What was the point?
That was a slight. That was an attack. That was an attack on the two black quarterbacks to take away from that to say, wait, okay, if it had not been for Lincoln, you wouldn't have these two black quarterbacks. He's trying to undermine the intention, and at the same time, you got to look and say, okay, he's saying something like that. What I wonder what he would say about Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick is still being whiteballed from the league. Even though he got a settlement, Kaepernick is still being whiteballed from the league.
Here's the point, and here's the point, Scotty, because we got a couple of moments left, and here's the point, because I think that a lot of times, especially in the sports, right, we believe that white commentators, right, white game callers, that they are quote unquote liberal, progressive, because sports makes us feel as if, we're all on the same page, that nothing unites the American people like sports. So when we really start to hear their real views, right? This is how they really think, then we all get offended. And so I'm bringing this out because people are like, yo, Chris Berman really got a problem. He's really a racist underneath of all of this. Mm-hmm. So how do we address that, Scotty?
Listen, man, at the end of the day, it's the peers of one another calling them out, right? Or peer co-workers, right? So it's the Stephen A. Smiths, it's the Ryan Clarks, it's the Marcus Spears, it's all those black commentators as well, even his co-host. The one that the black man that always does with Chris Berman. Yo, you gotta hold this Bama accountable. It's too many pacifists for me, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, it was a slip of the tongue. Oh, he didn't mean it like that. No, he meant it how he said it. Now, at the end of the day, how I take it, that's perception. That's how I took it. If he never says it, there's nothing to take. You get what I'm saying? So to me, at the end of the day, his co-workers, his white and black, have to hold him accountable. His bosses, 9 times out of 10 that are white, got to hold him accountable. And then as well as the league, the NFL, this is part of your product, right? You got these people talking on your product. You have a whole banner in the back of the end zone talking about end racism. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man. Like,
that's nonsense.
You get what I'm saying?
Hey, Scotty, real quick. I wonder what Shannon going to say.
I don't think he, because I watched him this morning. I don't think he caught it, but he better say something. Somebody better say something.
But you got to.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
What you say, bro, Michael?
I wonder what Jay-Z's going to say. Remember, Jay-Z was co-opted by the NFL back in September 2019. And I told people, I did a YouTube video September 2nd, 2019. I told people that they brought Jay-Z in, gave him this deal with the NFL to get the top black acts because he put the word out prior to that not to perform at the Super Bowl. Okay, so a lot of top black acts didn't perform. In that year that they had Maroon 5 perform, they had terrible ratings. All right, and then I said they're gonna be able to, because of Jay-Z, he's gonna make it all right for the top black acts to perform. Who performed yesterday? Rihanna. I told people what's gonna happen. So I wonder what Jay-Z's gonna say. Because Jay-Z said the deal, he said the deal with the NFL, he said that's the next step in the social justice movement. Talking about Colin Kapernick, he said this is the next step. You can't determine what the next step is because you weren't involved in it in the first place.
I'm riding with you on this. I'm riding with Scotty on this. If black commentators don't say something, right? Black Twitter is already saying stuff. But if black commentators don't say something, I ain't talking about Jason Whitlock.
Right. Oh, no.
I'm talking about
that's white supremacy through ventriloquism, Jason Whitlock. Right there, that Negro.
Black commentators, right? And look, the crazy part is we don't have that many strong black sports commentators on these mainstream programs. I look, trust and believe, I listen. Right. Like I listen to Nate Burleson, I listen to Michael Strahan, I listen to Shannon. You know what I'm saying? Like who's really talking? The culture. You feel what I'm saying?
They'll get paid by white people, man. So they can only get so much. They can only go so far.
They only could go so far. But that's why I said, let me hear what Shannon got to say. Because I know Shannon, he can write his own ticket anywhere at this point, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm with Scotty on this. Like, if you don't say something, this is ridiculous. You had this dude literally say, Abe Lincoln's birthday is today when you're talking about 2 black quarterbacks. Like, that is, if that don't.
Asinine, bro. Asinine.
That feeds into the mythology.
That is, and I mean, not the 77% black. How many black people still watch the NFL, right? How many black people still watch? Out of 192 million, what's the breakdown of the demographics? How many women still watch the NFL?
They were showing a watch party in Ghana. They were showing
it's international. It's international.
Listen.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good, brother Mike. Like they showed that it was, look at this watch party and this party. I'm like, so, it's
you don't get it right, bro.
Come on, man.
I talked to a sports writer from Forbes magazine, from Forbes.com last week, and this is an older brother. He's been a writer for sports for 40 years. He's told me they haven't gotten it right. And he said the reason they haven't gotten it right is because they don't want to get it right.
Right, exactly.
It's not that they can't. It's not that they don't have the brilliance. It's not that they don't have the black men and black women to be behind the scenes to help shape this new. They don't want to get it right. There's a story right now, and I'm sure, Brother Michael, you've seen it too. Scotty, I'm sure you probably talked about it. There's a story right now where the NFL is on record as being as aggressively denying claims to NFL veterans who need disability and other medical coverage.
Yep.
Men who have put their lives out on the line, men who have given their bodies to the game, and the NFL is still aggressively denying them health care claims and coverage and insurance coverage.
Real quick, you can probably talk about this sometime next time. With the Jim Trotter for 2 years straight has talked about the diversity within the higher levels of media in the NFL and why they have not seen black people and black commentators in the C-level executives in the media room. He's asked the commissioner for 2 years running at the NFL Media Day. Go check that out. I'm telling you, Jim Trotter, And then what is Goodell? What is? Oh, you know, I don't really touch the media room. Bama, you are the commissioner of the NFL. What you mean you don't touch the NFL? What do you mean you don't touch media? That don't even make sense.
Doesn't make sense.
Well, keep in mind he works for the owners though also. So
yeah,
you know,
but see, that's what I'm saying.
He does their bidding. He does the owner's bidding.
That's it. But at the end of the day, you're right. But at the end of the day, like they just it doesn't fit. Look, we gotta take a quick pause. Hey, brother Scotty, I appreciate you as always. Folks, make sure y'all subscribe to Off Script TV on YouTube and on all social media platforms. My man Scotty is always bringing the heat. Truly, truly appreciate this brother and his insight. And every time we talk sports, I always think about my brother. And I'm bringing him in on all of these conversations. And make sure y'all follow him on all social media strategy platforms. Hey, brother Scotty, thank you so much for checking in today.
Hey, anytime, Farajii. Thank you, brother Mike.
Absolutely.
Hey, thanks, Scotty.
Folks.
All right, how's everybody doing today? All right, Hotep, everybody. Hey, this is Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. I'm a talk show host, researcher, lecturer, writer, and historian. So some of you all saw me today on Farajii Muhammad's show, The Culture, on the Black Star Media Network. I was on this show Monday, February 13th, 2023. And we talked some about the Super Bowl and some aspects of it. And one of the things that I brought up was backlash that the NFL was getting for having Sheryl Ralph of Abbott Elementary perform Lift Every Voice and Sing, which is the Black National Anthem. And it has unofficially been the Black National Anthem since 1917. Okay, so she's been getting backlash. Well, the NFL has been getting backlash from some conservatives on social media. And I talked about this some and compared this to the white national anthem, because you had some conservatives saying, oh, well, there's only one national anthem. Okay. And so I want to deal with some of this history here briefly. Okay. There was a good article from the dailymail.co.uk. America has one national anthem. America has one national anthem. NFL fans debated as Black National Anthem Lift Every Voice and Sing is sung at Super Bowl 57. All right. The unofficial Black National Anthem was performed. Lift Every Voice and Sing was promoted by the NAACP as the Black National Anthem in 1917. A pre-recorded rendition was played before the Super Bowl in 2021 and 2022. So this is the first time it's actually been performed inside the stadium. Okay, right before the game. This is the first time that's happened. And this article is from February 12th, 2023. So the Black National Anthem, so the article talks about the Black National Anthem was performed before the Super Bowl for the third time in a row, causing outrage on social media. So you have some people who are just upset about this. And it's like, you know, people were performing WAP by like Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion and anything like that. So why would you be offended by the Black National Anthem? No cursing in it. There's no sexual innuendos or anything of that nature. Now, Sheryl Ralph, the star of the comedy series Abbott Elementary, and I really like Sheryl Ralph. I remember her, first saw her in 1977 in A Piece of the Action, Bill Cosby and Steve Portier. She performed the Lift Every Voice and Sing the Black National Anthem on Sunday night ahead of Super Bowl 57 between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles at State Farm Stadium in Glen, Arizona. Now we know Kansas City Chiefs won. I did not watch the game. I haven't watched the NFL game since 2017 when Colin Kapernick left the league. Okay, so you all know this about me. Now, the song Lift Every Voice and Sing became an unofficial Black national anthem when it was adopted by the NAACP in 1917. All right. And here's a picture of our sister, Sheryl Lee Ralph, singing the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing. Now, I want to deal with briefly some of the backstory, some of the history of how this song became written, how this became the Black National Anthem. Everybody share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in. Also support the African History Network. Okay, so here's some background information on Lift Every Voice and Sing, the Black National Anthem. Now, there was an article, now back in 2018, Beyonce performed the Black National Anthem at Coachella. And a lot of people found out about this song for the first time. A lot of white people found out about this song for the first time. When I was in elementary school, we had to learn the song. It was taught to us. All right. So there was this article here from the Washington Post, Lift Every Voice and Sing, the story behind the Black National Anthem that Beyonce sang. This is an article from April 16th, 2018. And Beyonce blew it away with and she had a style band that was, so she gave people a big introduction into African American culture, okay, by performing the Black National Anthem and His Day. Okay, let me see. Can we get? I'm trying to get this lined up here. All right, there we go. And let me just refresh the screen right quick. Stand by. Okay, let's continue here. All right, let's continue. Okay, so this article gives some background information, and I deal with some of this history in some of my lectures also. So the lyrics were written by James Weldon Johnson. Okay, James Weldon Johnson in 1899, and they were recited or performed for the first time. Look at some of the backstory of this. I'm going to reference one of my PowerPoint presentations because I deal with this in some of my lectures. Lift Every Voice and Sing. Let me pull this up here just a second. Lift Every Voice and Sing History. Now, the song was embraced as a hymn in churches and performed at graduation ceremonies and in school assemblies. Let me back up here. Okay, so Voice and Sing, the Black National Anthem, was written by James Weldon Johnson in 1899. James Weldon Johnson just so happened to be a member of my fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma Incorporated. Just so happened to be a member. Okay. It was James Weldon Johnson who also named the Red Summer of 1919 the Red Summer because he said the streets of America were flowing with blood. James Weldon Johnson was also the man who helped to organize the Silent March in 1917, where you had 10,000 African Americans marching up and down Fifth Avenue in Manhattan because they were fighting for a federal anti-lynching law. A federal anti-lynching bill, okay, and that was right after the East St. Louis race riot of 1917 also, okay. So we know it took us 122 years to get a federal anti-lynching bill passed. It took 122 years for us to get a federal anti-lynching bill passed. A federal anti-lynching bill was first introduced in the House of Representatives in 1900 by Representative George Henry White North Carolina. He was a Republican. He was the only African American left in Congress because Southern states had changed their state constitutions to impose poll taxes and literacy tests and suppress the African American vote. Okay, so it took us 122 years. It was in 2022 that the Emmett Till anti-lynching bill passed both the House and the Senate and was signed into law by President Joe Biden. All right, so James Weldon Johnson was in 1899 a young poet named James Weldon Johnson. He was also a school of African American birthday in our Lincoln's assassination, the year after Lincoln's assassination. And hold on just a second. Let me African Americans had been celebrating Lincoln's birthday, which is February 12th. Lincoln's birthday going back to the year after Lincoln was assassinated. He was assassinated in 1865. Okay. And this is one of the reasons why Black History Month is celebrated in the month of it was started out the second week of February, Negro History Week, because it contained the second week of February contained the birth dates of Abraham Lincoln and February 12th, and the assumed birth date of Frederick Douglass, which was February 14th, because Douglass didn't know the exact date or exact year that he was born. So this was, we know Negro History Week was created by Dr. Carter G. Woodson, and it was first celebrated in 1926. All right, so James Weldon Johnson was asked to address a crowd in Jacksonville, Florida, for the coming anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birthday. Just two decades had passed since the Reconstruction era, which was 1865 to 1877, and lynchings were on the rise in the segregated South. Instead of preparing an ordinary speech, James Weldon Johnson decided to write a poem. The poem started with the words, "Lift every voice," evoking the struggle and resilience of our ancestors. Okay, the poem was evoking the struggle and resilience of our ancestors. Now, the following year, in the year 1900, a chorus of 500 school children performed the song at the Abraham Lincoln celebration. The song quickly took off, becoming a rallying cry for African American communities in the South, or as one observer noted at the time, quote, a collective prayer. Now, the song was embraced as a hymn in churches and performed at graduation ceremonies and in school assemblies. Within 20 years, the NAACP, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, which was founded in 1909 and comes out of the Niagara Movement, which was founded in 1905 by Dr. W.B. Du Bois and others. The NAACP adopted "Lift Every Voice and Sing" as its official song. Okay, now it becomes the unofficial Black national anthem in 1917. But when I was growing up, we were just taught it was the Black national anthem. We did not look at it as the unofficial Black national anthem. I think you have some white people in the media who say it's the unofficial Black national anthem, but growing up and it being us singing it in elementary school, high school, and then at African cultural events, African centered events, we never said we're going to sing the unofficial Black national anthem. No, we said we're going to sing the Black national anthem, period. So I think you have white writers and you may have some African-American writers who are influenced by white people who buy into this and say it's the unofficial Black national anthem. But for us, it was no discussion on that. Okay. There was no doubt this was the Black national anthem. Now, it was embraced as a hymn in churches and performed at graduation ceremonies and in school assemblies. For generations to come, it would be known widely as the Black national anthem. Lift every voice and sing the story. So check out the rest of this article here from the Washington Post. Lift every voice and sing the story behind the Black national anthem that Beyonce sang. Lift every voice and sing the story behind the Black national anthem that Beyonce sang. This is from the Washington Post from August 16th, 2018. Okay, so check out that article. All right, so Beyonce introduced, who won 32 Grammys also, right? Beyonce to make a lot of people aware of the Black national anthem. Now, Sheryl Ralph, who's phenomenal in her own right, sings it at the Super Bowl, okay? And you have a lot of conservatives in this era of attacking critical race theory, attacks on African-American advanced placement, African studies courses, attacks on Black History Month, and books being banned in schools dealing with Dr. King and Rosa Parks and Ruby Bridges, etc. Okay. In this whole climate, now at the Super Bowl, okay, which was probably watched by about 192 million people, was expected. The National Retail Federation estimated that 192 million people, 92 million Americans would watch the would watch the Super Bowl. Okay. All right. So then you have Sheryl Ralph performing, and you had this. All right. So this is something I talked about on the show today. Okay. The culture on the Black Star Media Network, Roland Martin's network. Now, Sheryl Ralph tweeted 120 years ago today. So February 12th, the day of the Super Bowl 57. It was the 123rd anniversary of Lift Every Voice and Sing being performed publicly for the first time. She said, "Today I will sing it for the first time as part of the Super Bowl pregame show in the stadium." All right, now Sheryl Ralph announced that she would be performing a song on Twitter. Okay, the song was sung for both both Super Bowl 50. Let me see, both Super Bowl 55 and Super Bowl 56. Okay, I get my Roman numerals straight. Okay, L represents 50, V represents 5, V1 represents 6. So 50, 55, and 56. Okay. The song was sung before both Super Bowl 55 and 56, performed by Alicia Keys in 2021 and performed by Mary Mary in 2022. However, Sheryl Ralph was the first person to have sung the song on the actual field inside the stadium, because with Alicia Keys, it was pre-recorded. They showed the video before the Super Bowl game. It was pre-recorded. For Mary Mary, they performed live, but they performed outside of the stadium. Okay. Sheryl Ralph was the first person to have sung the Black national anthem actually on the Super Bowl field inside the stadium. Both previous performances were broadcast as pre-recorded clips. Now, the song was originally a poem written by James Weldon Johnson, a former leader in the NAACP. Its lyrics describe the struggles, aspirations of African Americans at the turn of the century. Okay, because he wrote it in 1899. Okay, so 1899. I mean, that's just 4 years after This is 4 years after Frederick Douglass dies. Frederick Douglass dies in 1890. Okay, and you're talking about so chattel slavery ends in 1865. So you're talking about 34 years, the chattel slavery ends. All right. So they were looking at this is coming up on the turn of the century, and they're looking toward the future, understanding the past. And you still have former slaves alive in 1900. Okay. Harriet Tubman didn't die till 1913. Booker T. Washington didn't die till 1915. These are two of the most prominent former slaves who were still alive after Frederick Douglass dies in 1895. So this is the whole climate that James Weldon Johnson writes this song. All right, now, here's Mary Mitchell. That's Rihanna. Okay. And I talked on the African History Network show Sunday how Jay-Z did the NFL did a backdoor deal with Jay-Z, the co-op Jay-Z to bring him in to direct the Super Bowl halftime shows, and so he could bring on the top black artists after he told the top black artists like Rihanna not to perform because of Colin Kaepernick's protests. I predicted what was going to happen back when in my YouTube video that I did September 2nd, 2019. I told you what was going to happen. I told you that was a backdoor deal to undermine Colin Kaepernick's protests. So here's Mary performing also in 2022 ahead of the Super Bowl. Okay, unlike Sheryl Ralph, they performed outside of the stadium, and the performance was recorded in advance. And here's our sister Alicia Keys. Now, dumbass Lauren Boebert, who's probably I don't know if she's exactly a coup plotter, but she's a coup plotter sympathizer. Okay, Republican from Colorado. She won by less than 1,000 votes. I think it was something like 250 votes. She won re-election. This dumbass. She said America only has one national anthem. Okay, why is the NFL trying to divide us by playing multiple? Do football, not wokeness. Okay, now I would expect Lauren Boebert to say that America has one national anthem because she's referring to the white national anthem. The Star Spangled Banner, written by a white supremacist slave owner named Francis Scott Key, who used his position as the district attorney in Washington, D.C. to attack. He tried to have one abolitionist named Reuben Crandall executed by hanging because Reuben Crandall was caught with anti-slavery pamphlets. So Francis Scott is the man who wrote the Star Spangled Banner it's about September 1814 during the War of 1812. And I call it the white national anthem when you understand the history behind it and who wrote it. It's about white people, for white people, written by white people. It's not just the third stanza. The third stanza that says no refuge for the hireling or the slave. No, it's not just the third stanza. The entire song is a white supremacist song when you understand who wrote it and the history behind it. Okay, I've done presentations on this in the past, so this ain't gonna be as long as the other ones. But just understand, okay? Because some people are confused. Why do you call it the white national anthem? Go study the history of it. I'm going to reference an article about Francis Scott Key in just a minute here. So when I see people like Lauren Boebert, okay, Republican, coup plotter sympathizer, America has only one national anthem, and she's attacking Black national anthem. I understand why. And this is a lot of this also do with the fear of the browning of America, because you have some white people who want African Americans to see reality through the eyes of Europeans. Now, it happened at the same time that NFL player Colin Kaepernick famously refused to take a knee as the Star Spangled Banner was sung. Okay, so that started basically August 2016, Colin Kaepernick's protest. He started sitting out on the bench, then he started taking a knee. On social media, reactions to the news that Anthem would be sung for the third year in a row at the Super Bowl were mixed. Colorado Republican dumbass Lauren Boebert said on Twitter, America has only one anthem. Her critics attacked her, however, suggesting that her tweet sowed more division than the inclusion of the anthem. Luke Zaleski, Zaleski, legal affairs editor for Condé Nast, accused the politician of hypocrisy. The gaslighting is the fact that that she's using the concept of unity to divide. The gaslighting is the fact that she's using the concept of unity to divide. She's doing a grievance contrived to irk and produce the of further fracturing society, he wrote. Now, another person noted that not only is it Black History Month, and Black History Month was never designed for this month to be when we study our history, just so we understand. So hopefully somebody will let Morgan Freeman know. Now, another person noted that Black History Month, but it's also the first time two Black quarterbacks have faced each other in Super Bowl history, as Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs and Jalen Hurts of the Philadelphia Eagles led their respective teams. We know Kansas City won. Didn't make any difference to me. I'd rather have African-American team ownership than two Black quarterbacks in facing each other, and all the owners of the 32 teams are white. Okay. And then you got one that's Pakistani American, but he's passing for white. Now, the song is meaningful to African Americans. It's also a historic game with two Black quarterbacks the first time ever. Get over yourself and your ridiculous white grievances. If you don't like it, don't watch. Simple. They tweeted. Okay, here's Shirley Ann. All right, our sister Shirley Ralph. Now, Laverne Spicer said the Black national anthem is the Star Spangled Banner. The white national anthem is the Star Spangled Banner. The national anthem is the Star Spangled Banner. If you live in the United States, your national anthem is the Star Spangled Banner. Okay. Now it took, if I remember correctly, it took about it took dozens of tries to get the Star Spangled Banner to become the national anthem, number one. But number two, if you actually understand history, then the Star Spangled Banner for African Americans is not something that we would claim in our right minds, and it's not something that we should claim. Okay, because it is a anti-African American song. And when you understand the man who wrote it, you understand why I say that. Okay. Daryl B. Harrison, who appears to be African American phenotypically, said the NFL was making them by allowing to be sung, also suggesting that it made America a nation of two anthems. Well, the league is 68 to 70% African American. Okay. So they should perform. They should have been performing the Black national anthem long before that. The league is 68 to 70% African American. They should perform it. Now, at the same time, I would argue that we should stop watching the games as well. That's a whole nother conversation. Okay. At the same time, I would argue that we should stop watching the games. Because I still stand with Colin Kaepernick's protests. Okay. And Kaepernick is being whiteballed from the league. So I don't understand why we're watching the games in the first place. And they sold a 30-second commercial for $6.5 million. They sold a 30-second commercials were going for $6.5 million. Okay. So many of us would rather be entertained than be empowered. If we all rallied behind Colin Kaepernick, leveraged our economic dollars to put pressure on the NFL, stop buying tickets, stop buying jerseys, okay, stop watching the games on TV, things like this, okay, stop going to the games. that would have a tremendous impact, because then it would put us in the driver's seat and we could put pressure on the NFL. You need to have African-American team ownership. You need to have better health benefits for the players after they retire from the league. Okay. You need more African-American head coaches. There's only like 2 or 3 African-American head coaches in the league, but we'd rather be entertained than be empowered. So, a lot of times you teach people how to treat you. So then let's see, you have the comment from Luke Zaleski as well. He's performed America the Beautiful. I like Babyface. Ask the question, why? Okay, not as love of crime, but just Babyface, why? Okay, come on. So read the rest of this article here. Then they have the lyrics to Lift Every Voice and Sing also. Okay, very interesting article. The backlash that the NFL is getting for having Sheryl Lee Ralph perform the song. Okay, and you may hear more backlash from the coming days. Now, DMP, who is this? DMP said, did you hear Chris Berman's dumbass 18? Yeah, we talked about that on Farajii Muhammad's show, The Culture, today on the Black Star Media Network, okay, Roland Martin's network. And I said that, it's, if you want to talk about Abraham Lincoln, you can talk about Lincoln. So what Chris Berman was trying to do is he was trying to imply that he wanted to gloss over the fact that you had 2 African-American quarterbacks playing on opposing teams for the first time in Super Bowl history. And he was implying, hey, if it wasn't for Abraham Lincoln, these guys would still be slaves. Okay? And Abraham Lincoln was not a savior for African Americans. Now, he was better than most white people at the time. He was not a savior. We took up arms and freed ourselves. Okay. We ran away from plantations. All right. We ran behind Union lines. What was the Civil War a good thing for African Americans? Yes, it was. You had almost 200,000 African Americans who fought in the Civil War. We joined the Union Army and we joined the Union Navy and fought in the Civil War, and we fought for our freedom. We took up arms and fought for our freedom. We didn't passively wait for white people to free us. All right. And it's important to understand that the Emancipation Proclamation of January 1st, 1863 did not legally free the slaves. Okay. If you go to loc.gov, the Library of Congress website, loc.gov, and if you read it, it tells you that the slaves in the territories that are in rebellion, okay, the territories that were part of the Confederate States of America, the Confederacy, it was saying that those slaves would be freed if those territories did not come back into the Union by January 1st, 1863, because the initial Emancipation Proclamation was September 22nd, 1862. The Emancipation Proclamation was an ultimatum to the Confederacy to bring the territories back into the Union, okay, to bring those territories in rebellion back into the Union. The Civil War was not fought slaves. The Civil War was fought to bring the South back into the Union, to keep the Union together, because the South was the economic engine of America. The goal of the Civil War was not to end slavery. The goal shifted after the Emancipation Proclamation of January 1st, 1863. But it also says that the border states were exempt. So Maryland, Missouri, Kentucky, and Delaware, they were still allowed to keep their slaves. Okay, Maryland did not abolish slavery till November 1st, 1864. This is something we talked about in my class on Saturday, class number 1 of Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. So if you miss class number 1, you can still register for it. Class number 2 is coming up Saturday, February 18th, 2023. It's a 12-week online course. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. So the class is on sale, $80, regularly $130. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch it anytime. So when you register for the course, you can go back and watch class number 1. So visit our website, theafricanhistorynetwork.com, theafricanhistorynetwork.com, because we did 2 hours on Saturday. And if you look at this article here from the Washington Post, there's a piece from the Washington Post with Maryland. Maryland did not abolish slavery after the Emancipation Proclamation, and they put it on the ballot, took a vote on it, and it almost didn't pass. Okay, so a lot of this that we think is history, and a lot of this history surrounding Abraham Lincoln is a lot of myth. Now he was a better white man than a lot of them at the time, but Lincoln was not an abolitionist. He didn't think that African Americans should have voting rights. He changed his mind toward the end of his life and said that African Americans who served in the Union Army, or who served on behalf of the Union during the Civil War in the military, African American men, they should be able to vote, but not all African Americans. This article right here from the Washington Post, the not quite free state, Maryland dragged its feet on emancipation during Civil War. Okay, during the Civil War. And it goes through and deals with this history that I just laid out briefly. Okay. Also, it's important to understand that people get this mixed up and think that slave owners in the U.S. got reparations. No, they didn't. That only applied to slave owners in Washington, D.C. That was called the Compensated Emancipation Act of April 16th, 1862, which was signed into law by President Abraham Lincoln. That only applied to slave owners in Washington, D.C. That did not apply to all slave owners in the country. Okay, because I hear people misstating that, and I guess they're confusing what Great Britain did in 1834 with their Slavery Abolition Act of 1834, where they took out a loan for 19 million pounds, and Great Britain paid 46,000 British slave owners reparations for freeing 800,000 enslaved African people. I guess they're getting the two mixed up. But no, the Compensated Emancipation Act of 1862, April 16th, 1862, only applied to slave owners in Washington, D.C. Okay. But if we so you go through, read the rest of this here, and they talk about they took the vote tipped in favor of abolition only after the absentee ballot. Only after the absentee ballot soldiers fighting for the North were counted. This is during the Civil War, which is 1861, 1865. The final tally was 30,000 in favor of freeing the slaves, 29,799 against it. It almost did not pass. Okay. On November 1st, 4 Maryland slaves were declared free only a few months before Congress would approve the 13th Amendment abolishing slavery. So the 13th Amendment is going to pass the House and the Senate, but it gets ratified by Georgia December 6, 1865. And when Georgia ratifies the 13th Amendment, because the ratification process, a bill has to pass the House and the Senate, then it has to pass 3/4 of the state legislatures by a 2/3 majority vote. So when it passed the Georgia state legislature December 6, 1865, then that gave the amendment the 2/3 majority vote to actually amend the U.S. Constitution to become law and legally end chattel slavery. All right. So I encourage people to go to loc.gov, the Library of Congress website, and also go to archives.gov and read these documents, Emancipation Proclamation, read the U.S. Constitution, read the Declaration, because when you go through and read these documents, you get a much better understanding of history and understanding of law, and laws shape historical events, shape movements, shape laws and policies. So you have a cycle. These are the type of things that I deal with in my online courses. Okay. So how's everybody doing? Give us a thumbs up, give us a heart, give us a like on this broadcast. How you like this type of information? Follow us on our fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network. Okay, I'm Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. I'm a talk show host, researcher, lecturer, writer, and historian. I've been studying history 32 years. So I speak all across the country. You see me on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Fridays. So I provide political analysis and historical analysis on Roland Martin Unfiltered. And on Mondays, I'm on Farajii Muhammad show, The Culture. So I was on his show today. All right. And we have Sister Felicia watching us. Sister Felicia is with Hapi. Sister Felicia and Brother Taiki Grant, directors of the film Hapi, The Role of Economics and Development of Civilization. And they just had the Hapi Day of Excellence. We had Brother Taiki on the show, on the African History Network show. For that, visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. And we also have the information right here in the thread of the broadcast. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa. Understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Okay, this is a new 10-week online history course that I teach, and we deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. Okay, and this is over 200 slides that I put together. We have 80 to 100 articles that we reference. We have excerpts of interviews that I've done with many of our scholars over the years also that hits on different aspects of this history. Okay. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch it anytime. Okay. And just at our website, just click here, register here. In the class, I'll go over the lesson plan because I have a lesson plan laid out for all 10 classes. And we'll send you the lesson plan in so you can download it also. I'm trying to get the link straight on the website so you can actually look at the lesson plan there. But this is my life's work. I started teaching this class in 2007. It's taken 7 years to get the class, really develop it to where it is today. 80 to 100 articles, 15 books that we reference. You don't have to buy any of these books to follow along in class. Class is on sale $80, regularly $130. And we do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. So even after the course is over with, you can go back and watch the entire course. Okay. So you don't lose access to it. I don't want to do that. I want you to be able to 2-3 years from now, be able to still access this class. All right. Also, if you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN show through Cash App, $ the AHN show through Cash App. Also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. So go to our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, scroll down, and we have the information here for the Cash App, PayPal. When you click on that, this is our official Cash App account, $ the AHN show. SHOW. When you go to it, it says Michael. These other ones are fake African History Network Cash App accounts. I'm still trying to get shut down because people have been stealing money from us. Okay. These are not ours. They're using our logo, all that stuff. I put the link here. You click on the link and it has our QR code here as well. Okay. All right. So look, I have to get out of here. We have the link for the class here in the thread of the broadcast. Also, register for the full class. That helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting. If you want me to do a presentation for your group or organization, please email me through the website or email me at ahnshow@theafricanhistorynetwork.com, ahnshow@theafricanhistorynetwork.com. And we can set that up either in person or virtually if you want me to do a presentation for your group or organization. Listen to the African History Network show Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on our social media platforms. Visit our website for more information about that. And watch me on Fridays on Roland Martin Unfiltered, as well on the Black Star Network on Facebook, YouTube, Roland Martin, Facebook, YouTube. Download the Black Star Network app. Okay. I want to go back to this topic here. Now, I want to deal with a little history of Francis Scott Key. Okay. First, let me show you this. Read this article here. I deal with this in my second class. This deals with the Compensated Emancipation Act of April 1662. People confuse and think paid reparations to all slave owners in the U.S. No, they did not. They only paid reparations to slave owners in the District of Columbia, which is Washington, D.C. Okay. So check that out. And there's other sources on that as well. Okay. The this has it here. National Archives, District of Columbia Emancipation Act. This is the U.S. National Archives. It gives information. It provided for immediate emancipation, compensation to former owners who were loyal to the Union of up to $300 for each freed slave, of up to $300 for each freed slave. Let me flip over to this here, U.S. National Archives. Okay, on April 16, 1862, President Abraham Lincoln signed a bill ending slavery in the District of Columbia. The act brought to a conclusion decades of agitation aimed at ending white slavery. Decades of agitation aimed at ending white slavery. At ending what anti-slavery advocates called the national shame of slavery in the nation's capital. All right, now, it provided for immediate compensation to former owners who were loyal to the Union of up to $300 for each freed slave. Voluntary colonization of former slaves to locations outside the United States, and payments of up to $100 each for each person choosing immigration. Over the next 9 months, the Board of Commissioners appointed to administer the act approved 930 petitions, completely or in part from former slave owners, for the freedom of 2,989 former slaves. Okay, so read the rest of this here. That did not apply to all slave owners in the U.S. It only applied to those in the District of Columbia. Okay, that's why it's called that's the Compensated Emancipation Act, April 16th, 1862. All right. S. Rep said, good information. We need most of us to know what really happened. Yep, I agree. That's why it's important to support the African History Network, because this don't happen with no resources. Trust me, it takes a lot to finance the African History Network, and we're dealing with a lot of financial challenges this week that I have to take care of. If you want to support us, also $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, and through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. We have the information on the homepage of our website, also theafricanhistorynetwork.com. All right, now I want to look at there's a good article that I deal with when I teach about Frank Key. I've done a presentation dealing with the history of the national anthem and also Kaepernick's protests as well. And okay, so this article here is called "Where's the Debate on Francis Scott Key's Slaveholding Legacy?" This is from SmithsonianMag.com. This is the official website of the Smithsonian Institute. Where's the debate on Francis Scott Key's slaveholding legacy? Okay, this is from July 1st, 2016 by Christopher Wilson, who's Director of Experience Design, National Museum of American History. During his lifetime, abolitionists ridiculed Francis Scott Key's words, sneering that America was more like the land of the free and the home of the oppressed. Sneering that America was more like the land of the free and the home of the oppressed. Okay. For the sake of time, I want to fast forward through this and get to the portion that I want to talk about. All right. Now, in 1814, This during the War of 1812. Francis Scott Key was a slaveholding lawyer from an old Maryland plantation family who, thanks to a system of human bondage, had grown rich and powerful. Now, this is Francis Scott Key right here, the man who wrote he named it The Defense of Fort McHenry. The Defense of Fort McHenry. It started out as a poem, and it was about a battle during the War of 1812. The War of 1812 was 1812 to 1814, and the U.S. was fighting against Great Britain once again. Okay, this is the War of 1812. Now, when Francis Scott Key wrote the poem that would, in 1931, become the national anthem, all right, and proclaim our nation, quote, the land of the free, like Thomas Jefferson, Francis Scott Key not only profited from slaves, he conceptions of American citizenship and human potential. Africans in America, Francis Scott Key said, were, quote, a distinct and inferior race of people, which all experience proves to be the greatest evil that afflicts a community. Francis Scott Key was a straight up white supremacist slave owner. What the hell am I going to sing a song that he wrote that became the white national anthem? That's just stupid. That's what happens when you don't understand history. You don't understand what you're participating in. This is why I don't sing the white national anthem. It's not just the third stanza, okay, that says no refuge for the hireling or the slave. It's the entire song is a white supremacist song. As I said before, it was written by white people, for white people, about white people, and it was voted on in Congress by white people to become the white national anthem. Because by the time it was voted on in 1931, there may have been maybe one African American who was in Congress. That's it. So what are you talking about? This is what happens when you don't understand history. Now, if you want to say there should be a new national anthem, okay, that supports that is inclusive of various races of people, and it's inclusive of everybody. If you want to say there should be a new national anthem, okay, I can agree with that. I'll go, I can agree with that. If there should be a new national anthem, this is not it right here. And then when you get into the Colonial Marines was a group of Marines who were a lot of them were former slaves. And this was a group that Francis Scott Key and his men had a battle with 2 or 3 weeks prior to him writing this. And because when he writes The Defense of Fort McHenry, he's watching a British attack on Fort McHenry in Baltimore. Okay. That's why it's called The Defense of Fort McHenry. So when you get into all this, then you see his animosity for African people come out. So this is why, a lot of this stuff I sit back and I look and I'm saying, okay, this is why our motto is right knowledge corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. All right, Sister Felicia, thanks for the support also as well. Okay, so guys, you can support us through Cash App and PayPal. Definitely you should support or register for one of our paid online classes. Okay, because just so people understand, because I guess a lot of people that don't do this don't know this, but I use 2 different digital platforms to teach those classes, Crowdcast and LearnWorld. Okay. And I have to pay them each month. So it's not free to teach those classes. Free. I have to pay to teach those as well. All right. All right. Let's continue here. I want to go back to this. All right, so a few of the British troops in the War of 1812 stunned and demoralized America by attacking Washington and setting the Capitol building and the White House ablaze. They attacked Washington, D.C. They burned the White House down and the U.S. Capitol building, the British, okay? On August 24th, 1814, the British turned their attention to the vital seaport of Baltimore, all right? Now, September 13th, 1814, British warships commenced an attack on Fort McHenry in Baltimore, which protected the city's harbor. For 25 hours, bombs and rockets rained down on the fort while Americans still wondering whether their newfound freedom would really be short-lived, awaited news of Baltimore's fate. So this is after the American Revolutionary War, which was 1775 to 1783 against Great Britain also. Okay. So, so you have America, largely white people in America, wondering, okay, are we still going to be a free nation, etc.? Now, it's also important to note that a lot of African slaves ran away and ran over to the British side to fight for the British against the U.S. in the War of 1812, just as they did during the American Revolutionary War. Just as they did during the American Revolutionary War, there were more what we would call African Americans. There were more African Americans who fought on behalf of the British during the American Revolutionary War than fought on behalf of the colonies, because the British were the first ones who said, if you come fight for us, we'll set you free when this war is over with. All right. So we were born at night, but not last night. We said, okay, we're going to go fight for the British because we wanted to be free. So and you know, to make a, not to, I'm trying to keep this short. This is the short version. I've done an extensive version of all this. This is the short version right here. But there, at the end of the War of 1812, the U.S. demanded that Great Britain return. It was about 6,000 runaway slaves. They demanded that Great Britain return about 6,000 runaway slaves. Great Britain refused to do so. Okay. The War of 1812, to understand these, and you know, and to understand the U.S., and this puts us on a trajectory to the Civil War also. Okay, this puts us on a trajectory to the Civil War as well. Read this article here, just for the sake of time. This is written by Dr. Jason Johnson for TheRoot.com. I'm not a big fan of Dr. Jason Johnson. I've been listening to him, and yeah, he's all right, but I'm not. Some of that stuff he says is just it's not accurate. Let me just be polite and say it like that. Star-Spangled Bigotry: The Hidden Racist History of the National Anthem. July 4th, 2016. So it goes through and it talks about, let's look at the colonial Marines. Okay, because on particular note, Francis Key's opposition to the idea of the colonial Marines. Now, the colonial Marines were a battalion of runaway slaves who joined with the British Royal Army in exchange for their freedom. The colonial Marines were not only a terrifying example of what slaves would do if given the chance, but also a repudiation of the white superiority that men like Francis Scott Key was so invested in. So you got to understand, they get to go, these are runaway slaves who ran away from the U.S. and fought on behalf of Great Britain. Now they get the opportunity to take up arms and go kill their former slave masters. Oh, hell yeah, they're with that. And they're going to get their freedom also. That's why more of them fought on behalf of Great Britain than fought for the U.S. This terrified people like Francis Scott Key, who was a slave owner. Because I guarantee you, he was afraid that his slaves would have an uprising as well and take him out too. Now, all of these ideas and concepts came together around August 24th, 1814 at the Battle of Bladensburg, where Francis Scott Key, who was serving as a lieutenant in the army at the time, ran into a battalion of colonial Marines, these former slaves who went to fight for Great Britain. His troops were taken to the woodshed by the very black folks he disdained. He got his ass kicked by these black colonial Marines, and he fled back to his home in Georgetown to lick his wounds. The British troops, emboldened by their victory in Bladensburg, then marched into Washington, D.C., burning the Library of Congress, burning the U.S. Capitol building, and burning the White House. You can imagine that Francis Scott Key was very much in his feelings, seeing black soldiers trampling on the city he so desperately loved. Now, a few weeks later, in September of 1814, not 1815. A few weeks later, in September of 1814, far from being a captive, Francis Scott Key was on a British boat begging for the release of one of his friends, a doctor named William Beans, or Benes, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it. Francis Scott Key was on the boat waiting to see if the British would release his friend when he observed the bloody battle of Fort McHenry in Baltimore, September 13th, 1814. America lost the battle, but managed to inflict heavy casualties on the British in the process. This inspired Francis Scott Key to write what would later be called the Star-Spangled Banner. He named it The Defense of Fort McHenry. It was a poem. He wrote the poem after watching the battle. So that's when he said, and our flag was still there. Okay. He's talking about the flag was still flying at Fort McHenry. This is where this comes from. So right then and there, but no one remembers that he wrote a full third stanza decrying the former slaves who were now working for the British Army, the colonial Marines. Okay. And where is that band that was so vauntingly, who so vauntingly swore that the havoc of war and the battle's confusion and home and the country should leave us no more? Their blood has washed out their foul footsteps pollution. Their blood has washed out their foul footsteps pollution. No refuge could save the hireling and slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave. And the Star-Spangled Banner in triumph doth wave over the land of the free and the home of the brave. Okay. But it ain't just the third stanza that's the problem. It's the entire song that's the problem. And who wrote the song? So when you understand history, this is, and see, Jackie Robinson said in his autobiography, I Never Had It Made, Jackie Robinson said he can never sing the Star-Spangled Banner again and stand for the Star-Spangled Banner. Okay. So read the rest of this. Okay. Knowledge is power. Right knowledge corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. All right, now, let me go back to, let me see. Let me go back to this here. Okay. So we have, we talked about Beyonce performing at Coachella. We talked about some of the history of Lift Every Voice and Sing, the Black National Anthem. Okay. It's not the unofficial Black National Anthem, because I tell you, when I was growing up, we say, okay, now it's time to sing the unofficial Black National Anthem. No, that's white people trying to tell us it's the unofficial Black National Anthem. First of all, you can't, we determine what the Black National Anthem is. Europeans can't tell us what the Black national anthem is. They're trying to define reality for us. Power is the ability to define and shape reality and have other people accept your definition of reality as if it were their own. Is Dr. Wade Noble correctly teaches us. All right. Okay, so we talked about the history of James Weldon Johnson and the Black national anthem. We talked about backlash the NFL is getting for having Sheryl Lee Ralph perform it during a game during the Super Bowl, and 68 to 70% of the league are African American. We dealt with some of the history of Francis Scott Key as well. Also with Francis Scott Key, who wrote the Star Spangled Banner, started out as the defense of Fort McHenry. Let me see something. It's right here. Yeah. I want to go to this piece right here, back to the Smithsonian. Let's look at this here. Back to the article from Smithsonian Mag. All right. The poem he wrote celebrated the Star Spangled Banner as a symbol of the resilience and triumph of the United States. Now, ironically, while Francis Scott was composing the line over the land of the free, it is likely that Black slaves or African slaves were trying to reach British ships in Baltimore Harbor. They knew that they were far more likely to find freedom and liberty under the Union Jack, which is the British flag, under the Union Jack, than they were under the Star Spangled Banner. Okay. The land of the free for who, Francis Scott Key? The land of the free for whom? Now, additionally, Francis Scott Key used his office as the district attorney for the city of Washington, D.C. from 1833 to 1840 to defend slavery, attacking the abolitionist movement in several high-profile cases. He tried to have Reuben Crandall executed for having abolitionist pamphlets. In the mid-1830s, the abolitionist movement was gaining momentum. So right around 1830, 1831, the Underground Railroad is formed, okay? Largely up north. The majority of it is up north, okay? And then you have a Southern Underground Railroad going from Texas into Mexico, because when Vicente Guerrero, who was the second president of Mexico, when Vicente Guerrero became president, he abolished slavery because he was a former slave. He was like Afro-Mexican, Vicente Guerrero. All right. So you had between 5,000 to 10,000 runaway African slaves who run away from Texas and surrounding areas like Mississippi, things like this. They run into Mexico, because Mexico is free territory now. Then you have the Underground Railroad going from the south, going up north also. Okay, now in the mid 1830s, the abolitionist movement was gaining momentum. All right. And with it came increased violence, particularly from pro-slavery mobs attacking free African Americans and white abolitionists, and other methods to silence the growing cries of abolition. In the U.S. House of Representatives and United States Senate, in a House of Representatives and United States Senate inundated with petitions from abolitionists calling for the ending or restriction of slavery, pro-slavery congressmen looked for a way to suppress the voices of abolitionists. Now, also, we know that in 1808, January 1st, 1808, the international transatlantic slave trade was abolished. And the international transatlantic slave trade dealt with bringing Africans into the country to enslave them. And this is that law passed Congress March 2nd, 1807. Okay. And it went into effect January 1st, 1808. Now, it still allowed slavery to exist in the U.S., but it made it illegal to bring Africans into the country to enslave them. And this dealt with treaties that there were international treaties, Great Britain and the United States. Britain into 1807, U.S. Congress, March 2nd, 1807, bans the international transatlantic slave trade. National other countries that enter into these international treaties, and this is stipulated in Article 1, Section 9, which the earliest that the international slave a $10 tax, a tax of up to $10 on for each African that was brought into the country. Okay, so when all these people who are talking about reparations, Article 1, Section 9, Clause 1, this helps give you a legal foundation for reparations. Okay, now at congress.gov, and I got to wrap this up because I ain't planning to be here this long, but you know, I'm a teacher, so this you know, this is what I do. Let me refresh the screen. All right, now, okay, we're back here because I got to upgrade the I got to upgrade my laptop. I need a new laptop. I need one that has a faster processor than this laptop here. So, U.S. Constitution. So this is Congress.gov. Article 1, Section 9, Clause 1, migration or importation. Okay. Restrictions on the slave trade. This is in the U.S. Constitution. The migration or importation of such persons as any of the states now existing shall think proper to admit, shall not be prohibited by the Congress prior to the year 1808. 1808. But a tax or duty may be imposed on such importation not exceeding $10 for each person, not exceeding $10 for each person. So all the Africans that were brought into this country from January 1st, 1808 to July of 1860, when the Clotilda comes into Alabama, about July of 1860, and the Clotilda is the last known slave ship that came into the U.S., and that was illegal because when that whole thing happened because of a bet that a wealthy white man made that he could bring in a slave ship and he could navigate around the authorities. Okay, that's how that happened. But all those Africans that were brought in from January 1st, 1808 to July of 1860 was illegal based upon federal law. And their court cases like the 1841 U.S. Supreme Court case of the United States versus the Amistad that document this, because those Africans, Joseph Sinkio and those Africans largely from Sierra Leone on the Amistad slave ship, which was 1839, and then the U.S. Supreme Court cases 1841, when they were captured, it was illegal and violated international treaties. If you go to archives.gov, U.S. National Archives, and look up the Amistad case, okay, U.S. National Archives, the Amistad case, the first thing that it tells you is that it was illegal for those Africans to be captured in the first place because it violated international treaties. All right, so U.S. National Archives, archives.gov, the Amistad case. In February 1839, Portuguese slave hunters abducted a large group of Africans from Sierra Leone and shipped them to Havana, Cuba, a center for the slave trade. This abduction violated all of the treaties in existence. You're dealing with a violation of international law when they were captured. Okay. Then when you go through and click on read more, and you go through and read the whole about the whole court case, and it went through the federal courts, then it went to the U.S. Supreme Court. Okay, the U.S. Supreme Court decided in favor of the Africans, stating that they were free individuals kidnapped and transported illegally. They had never been slaves because it was illegal for them to be captured in the first place. It was illegal for that slave ship to come into U.S. waters. Also, because the international transatlantic slave trade had been abolished January 1st, 1808. Okay. Now, they won their freedom. Okay. They won their freedom, and they were set free. Now, the U.S., what happened was the abolitionists had to collect money to pay to send them back to Sierra Leone. The U.S. didn't give them a free trip back to Africa. Abolitionists had to take up money, but at least they won their freedom in the U.S. Supreme Court. Senior Justice Joseph Story wrote and read the decision. Quote, "It was the ultimate right of all human beings in extreme cases to resist oppression and to apply force against ruinous injustice," end quote. The opinion asserted the Africans' right to resist unlawful slavery because there was a mutiny on the ship. There was a slave revolt on the ship. So they ruled that those Africans had a right to take up arms on that ship and fight for their freedom. They also ruled that it was illegal for them to be captured in the first place because it violated all the international treaties at the time, and they ruled that they were free. So they were set free. Okay. All right. So read that from archives.gov, U.S. National Archives, dealing with the Amistad. Okay. Now, let's go back. I'm going to wrap up here because I have to get out of here. I'm going to wrap up here with the Smithsonian Mag, and then we'll give you information about my online course, my 12-week online course that I teach also, where we get deep into this history. In the House of Representatives and United States Senate inundated with petitions from abolitionists calling for the ending or restriction of slavery, pro-slavery congressmen looked for a way to suppress the voices of abolitionists. In 1836, the House of Representatives passed a series of gag rules to table all anti-slavery petitions and prevent them from being read or discussed, raising the ire of people like John Quincy Adams. John Quincy Adams, the 6th president, who was the son of John Adams, the 2nd president. And John Quincy Adams was one of the defense attorneys for those Africans on the Amistad slave ship. Okay. So when you watch the movie Amistad, and a lot of people saw the movie Amistad, I think it was 1997. Okay. A lot of people don't understand what they were seeing. They're giving you a legal foundation for reparations in this country. And when we deal with repairing the damage of a legacy of slavery, we're seeking a legal remedy to a historical problem, which implies you need to understand both history and law. Unfortunately, most of our people don't understand either one of them. And the foundational law in this country is the U.S. Constitution. Article 6 of the U.S. Constitution tells you that the U.S. Constitution, all the previous treaties and all the subsequent treaties are the supreme law of the land. So when you go to lawmakers, you don't go to lawmakers to argue morality. You go to lawmakers to argue law, because lawmakers write laws. Laws get challenged in the judicial branch of the federal government, which are the federal courts, Federal Court of Appeals, and the U.S. Supreme Court. When they get challenged in court, they get challenged on the basis that they're unconstitutional, that they violate the Constitution. So if you're seeking a legal remedy to a historical problem and you want to call it reparations or restitution, whatever it is, you have to make sure that you're on strong legal footing. One would be the Black Freedmen Indian Treaties of 1866, because those are laws still in the books right now. And the Choctaw, Chickasaw, Creek, Cherokee, and Seminole Indians all owned African slaves. And when after the Civil War, they enter into treaties with the U.S. government that states that they had to free their slaves, give them land, etc. They become those African slaves get membership in those Native American nations, etc. Okay, so and they get cash payments. And get all the rights and privileges of being members of those Native American nations. Those laws are still in the books right now. That's one of our best chances to get any type of repairing the damage of the legacy of slavery. 1. 2 would be based upon Article 1, Section 9, Clause 1 of the U.S. Constitution, okay, which ended the international transatlantic slave trade. All right, and I'm trying to find something right quick here. Where is my presentation on? Oh, I dealt with this in my Kwanzaa presentation. Yeah, I dealt with this in my Kwanzaa presentation, dealing with reparations. So check out this piece here. And I've also talked about this on the African History Network show. I talked about this on Hot Pete Talks as well with Felicia Hardin and Taki Grant, also when they interviewed me before. Look at this here. So attorney Demario Solomon Simmons, who we've been on Roland Martin Unfiltered before together, he's working with Representative Maxine Waters to enforce the Black Freedmen Indian treaties of 1866 for descendants of the Black freedmen. Now, you're not going to get anything like this passed with Republicans in control of the House of Representatives. Democrats have to take back control of the House, and it takes 218 votes to get any bill passed in the House of Representatives, okay? Descendants of Black freedmen enslaved by Native Americans in 1800 seek tribal citizenship. Representative Maxine Waters tries to help. If we look at this, go through, read these articles, and we discuss this in my online classes, but go through and read these articles here. Even though progress is being a little progress is being made, African Americans don't understand how to get reparations, law, and the legislative process. Read this article from thegrio.com. Maxine Waters leads push to get justice for Black Native Americans. This is from October 13th, 2021. Maxine Waters leads push to get justice for Black Native Americans. A dispute between Black members of indigenous tribes and the federal government is part of a history that is now being exposed on Capitol Hill. Congresswoman Maxine Waters is calling out Native American tribes, the Choctaw, Chickasaw, Creek, Cherokee, and Seminole Indians, who held Black slaves and continue to discriminate against Black Native Americans. Okay, descendants of those Black enslaved by the hands of Native American tribes may get a slice of justice through access to Native American federal subsidies that have previously been denied to them. The California Congresswoman is seeking to get 5 tribes to comply with their 1866 treaty obligations that recognizes Black Native American freedmen, and their descendants as full citizens of their tribes, therefore making them entitled to all of the rights afforded to any other citizens of those Native American tribes or nations. Representative Maxine Waters tells the group, read that. Much of the dispute between Black members of the indigenous tribes and the federal government is part of a history that is now being exposed on Capitol Hill. Now, this ties into the origins of Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I've done a 2.5-hour lecture dealing with the history of Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's available at our website, theafricanhistorynetwork.com, Tulsa, Oklahoma was founded by Creek Indians around 1836, who got pushed off their land in the southeastern United States because of the Indian Removal Act of 1830, signed by President Andrew Jackson. Okay, I'm making this too long. I got to stop here because I'll just keep going. Read that article, okay, and read this one also. 9 entrepreneurs who helped build Tulsa's Black Wall Street, because Hannibal B. Johnson, who I know, and I've read his first book dealing with the history of Black Wall Street. Hannibal B. Johnson was interviewed by History.com, the official website of the History Channel. And Hannibal B. Johnson made the connection between the Dawes Allotment Act of 1887, the Black Freedmen Indian Treaties of 1866, and the first African-American landowners in Tulsa, in North Tulsa, where you would have Black Wall Street, which was the Greenwood district, the intersection of Greenwood, Archer, and Pine. Quote, the relative wealth of some Black folks in Oklahoma comes in part from their connection to these Native American tribes and their land ownership, says Hannibal B. Johnson, historian and author of Black 100, an American city grapples with this historical racial trauma. The Dawes Allotment Act 1887, named after Senator Henry L. Dawes of Massachusetts, authorized the government to divide tribal territory into allotments for individual Native Americans, which included Black members of those Native American tribes. As word spread that Indian Territory was a safer place for African Americans to settle between 1865 and 1920, more than 50 Black townships were founded in Oklahoma. More than 50 Black townships in Oklahoma. Okay, so let me go back to this article and finish this up because I have to get out of here. And you know, this is teaching history is my passion, but I'll just keep going. I'm telling you right now. You know, like the Energizer Bunny, just keep going and going and going. That's what I'll do. I'm going to have to get out. 1836, the House of Representatives passed a series of gag rules, raising the ire of people like John Quincy Adams, who saw restricting debate and assault on a basic First Amendment right of citizens to protest and petition. Okay, protest and petition to end slavery. Now, in the same year, okay, so that'd be 1836. In the same year, shortly after a race riot in Washington, D.C. in 1836, when an angry white mob set upon a well-known black restaurant owner, Francis Scott Key, the man who wrote the Star-Spangled Banner, the man who talked about the land of the free and the home of the brave for white people. Francis Scott Key likewise sought to crack down on the free speech of abolitionists, those fighting to end slavery. Francis Scott Key believed these abolitionists were riling things up in the city of Washington, D.C. Francis Scott Key prosecuted a New York doctor living in Georgetown for possessing abolitionist pamphlets. In the resulting case of the U.S. versus Reuben Crandall, Francis Scott Key, the man who wrote the Star-Spangled Banner, made national headlines by asking whether the property rights of slaveholders outweighed the free speech rights of those arguing for slavery's abolishment. Francis Scott Key hoped to silence abolitionists. He hoped to silence abolitionists who he charged wished to, quote, associate and amalgamate with the Negro, end quote. He said abolitionists wanted to associate and amalgamate with the Negro. See, he's saying these abolitionists want to have sex with Negroes. Basically, that's what he's saying. Okay, they want to associate and amalgamate with the Negro, and he thought African people were mentally inferior. Though Reuben Crandall's offense was nothing more than possessing abolitionist literature, Francis Scott Key, who was the district attorney to Washington, D.C., felt that abolitionist free speech rights were so dangerous that he sought to have Reuben Crandall executed by hanging for possessing abolitionist pamphlets. And you want to say there's one national anthem? You're talking about the white national anthem. Read this article from SmithsonianMag.com. This is the official website of the Smithsonian Institute. Where's the debate on Francis Scott Key's slaveholding legacy? There is no debate. If you understand history, ain't nothing to debate. Just deal with the facts and evidence. Proper documentation ends all conversation. All right. How'd you all like this type of information? Give us a thumbs up, give us a heart, give us a like on this broadcast. Please support the African History Network. Please support the African History Network. Definitely need your support for that. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. And we also have the information right here in the thread of the broadcast. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Okay, this is a new 10-week online history course that I teach, and we deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. Okay, and this is over 200 slides that I put together. We have 80 to 100 articles that we reference. We have excerpts of interviews that I've done with many of our scholars over the years also that hits on different aspects of this history. Okay. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch it anytime. Okay. And just at our website, just click here, register here. In the class, I'll go over the lesson plan because I have a lesson plan laid out for all 10 classes. And we'll send you the lesson plan in the, so you can download it also. I'm trying to get the link straight on the website so you can actually look at the lesson plan there. But this is my life's work. I started teaching this class in 2007. It's taken 7 years to get the class, really develop it to where it is today. 80 to 100 articles, 15 books that we reference. You don't have to buy any of these books to follow along in class. Classes on sale $80, regularly $130. And we do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. So even after the course is over with, you can go back and watch the entire course. Okay. So you don't lose access to it. I don't want to do that. I want you to be able to 2-3 years from now, be able to still access this class. All right. Also, if you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN show through Cash App, $ the AHN show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. So go to our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, scroll down, and we have the information here for the Cash App, PayPal. When you click on that, this is our official Cash App account, $ the AHN show. SHOW. When you go to it, it says Michael. These other ones are fake African History Network Cash App accounts. I'm still trying to get shut down because people have been stealing money from us. Okay. These are not ours. They're using our logo, all that stuff. I put the link here. You click on the link and it has our QR code here as well. Okay. All right. So look, I have to get out of here. We have the link for the class here in the thread of the broadcast. Also, register for the full class. That helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting. If you want me to do a presentation for your group or organization, please email me through the website or email me at ahnshow@theafricanhistorynetwork.com, ahnshow@theafricanhistorynetwork.com. And we can set that up either in person or virtually if you want me to do a presentation for your group or organization. Listen to the African History Network show Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on our social media platforms. Visit our website for more information about that. And watch me on Fridays on Roland Martin Unfiltered, as well on the Black Star Network on Facebook, YouTube, Roland Martin, Facebook, YouTube. Download the Black Star Network app. Okay. Remember, right now is correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. And we'll talk to you next time. Peace.